In last week's video, we got to the end of the first draft. We read it back and we found the holes. And we knew we had more work to do. So now comes the editing. In traditional publishing, a finished draft passes through 4 stages before a reader even sees it. 4 professional editors, one after another. For a traditional author, somebody else pays for that. As an indie, I couldn't afford it, and I can't afford the wait. So today we will discuss why traditional editing doesn't fit the indie life and what I do instead. If this is the first time we're meeting, I'm Andy Guile, independent author and publisher. I've got 1 book finished, 1 in second draft, and a free novella over at akguile.com. I write under the pen name AK Guile, and I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm just a bloke sharing what works for me as I figure this out. So if you're finding this useful, do me a favour, like and subscribe and help me grow the channel. So the traditional approach, a finished draft goes through a developmental edit, then a line edit, then a copy edit, and then a proofread. 4 stages, 4 skill sets, usually 4 different people, one after another, before the book is fit for a reader. I'm going to take that whole chain apart in its own video, but for now, just remember those 4 stages. That traditional approach doesn't work for me, and there are 2 main reasons. The first is money. A full editing cycle on a novel runs into the thousands. On a first book, with no idea whether to leave and earn that back, that's not a check I can afford to write. The second is time. The traditional approach isn't really a clean, linear 4 stage process. After every pass, the manuscript comes back for rework before it moves on to the next stage. So it's 4 rounds of feedback and 4 rounds of you going back in. And if 2 of those editors read your book differently, or if there's significant rework, you can end up stuck in the middle of an argument or a loop developing your own manuscripts. And while you're doing that, you're not writing the next book. And it all adds up, and the better part of a year or more can vanish before the book's even ready. But I'm an indie author. Nobody pays me in advance. I don't earn a penny until the book is actually out. And I don't really expect to start seeing a proper return until I've got 4 or 5 or even 6 books out there working for me. So a process that stretches every book isn't just expensive, it's arguably the wrong approach. Traditional editing is built for a world where someone else funds the wait. I'm not in that world. I've got to write a good book and get it out without losing a year and a fortune doing it. And then I've got to get on to the next one, and then the next one, and then the one after that. So what do I do differently? My editing starts before I write a word. In previous videos, we discussed how I build the foundation first. The codex, the characters, the locations, the world, the plan, the chapters and the scene briefs. By the time I'm writing prose, I'm writing on top of that foundation. And because that foundation is there, I can edit as I go. Tools like Grammarly catch the typos and the grammar live as I type. At the end of each chapter, I check what I've written against the codex, against the world I already built, and I catch and fix the continuity errors. So I'm not saving the editing up for one big expensive stage at the end of the process. It's happening all the way through, and the draft I end up with is already relatively clean, already holding together against the world I built, and a lot closer to a finished book than a normal draft would be. So I'm not saving the editing up for one big expensive stage at the end. It's happening all the way through, and the draft I end up with is already relatively clean, already holding together against the world I built, and a long way closer to a finished book than a normal first draft will be. I still read it as a reader, the way I talked about last week with my fake book approach, and ideally at the very end I would still want human eyes on it that aren't mine, but not the 4 past editorial chain. A different kind of editor doing one specific job, and that's a conversation for a future video as well. But by building the foundation and editing as I go, I get most of the way there myself, on my own time, at a cost and a timescale I can afford. But in that process, we have to talk about AI. There's a lot of noise about AI at the minute. AI is evil. It's going to write everyone's book and flood the world with AI slop and rubbish. And I get that worry. There are people using it to churn out books they never actually wrote. And that's real, and it's happening, and it's a problem. But there's wiser people than me debating that around the world. But when I talk about tools, that's not what I'm describing. I'm not letting AI write my book. I'm not letting it touch my prose. The creativity, the voice, the writing itself, that's all me, and it will stay all me. What I do use AI for is the stuff it's good at, catching a typo or a continuity slip against the codex. The boring, repetitive work a human editor would charge me a fortune for and take months and months and months over. It's simple really, use the best tool for the job. and use it at the right time. A spell checker is a tool, Grammarly is a tool, AI is a tool. None of them are writing your book. They free you up to do the part that only you can do. The author does the creative work. The tools do the operational work. That's not AI replacing the author, that's AI augmenting the author. So the practical takeaway this week, editing as an indie isn't about finding money for 4 professionals you can't afford and waiting for a year you don't have. Editing as an indie is not about giving the entire thing to an AI tool and saying, imagine you're a professional developmental editor, fix this manuscript. It's about building your foundation properly, then using the right tool for each job so you do most of the work yourself as you go. The author does the writing, the tools do the rest. Get that balance right and you end up with a clean draft without a bill and without the weight and without compromising your creative principles. Over the next few videos, we'll get into the detail, what each of those 4 stages actually does, why good editors are so far to find as an indie, especially if you're writing a series, and why for me, this way of working is better. Next week, we start with the 4-pass process and delve a little deeper and why I think that has to evolve and why indie authors can and should look for a different approach. That's it for today. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.